Moonrise over Myth Dranor. The day of the drawn sword. It was hot enough to fry a knight in armor. Delmare began to despair of ever reaching the dale as he trudged along in a sun-dappled roadside shade, and the day grew old around him. He walked and walked along the winding road through the woods, hoping at each bend to see thinning trees ahead and some sign of his goal. At each bend the road disappointed him. Delmare's feet ached, even in the good boots he wore. His pace fell to a crawl. The deep woods on either side of the road began to seem somehow sinister, as if they were awaiting the night, when he'd have to sleep among them and take his chances. He walked more slowly, even as he told himself if he must hurry on. Hurry? He could barely walk. Delmare sighed and came to a halt by the side of the road, and then he heard it. A thudding. A low, broken drumming sound barely audible above his own weary breathing. He leaned his head to one side. Yes, hoofbeats, many of them, coming toward him on the unseen road ahead. He stepped up onto the high bank beside the road, staring all the while at the next bend as the hooves came nearer. The din grew suddenly louder. Delmare threw up his hand, clearing his throat, as the low branches at the bend suddenly danced and shed leaves. "Pray excuse me," he called, his voice high and loud in his ears. "Excuse me! Can you tell me the way to Shadowdale? I seek the sage Elementster." In the next moment, the first riders of the proud company of knights in full gleaming plate armor thundered into view. As the first whipped past, whirling his words away into nothingness into the fury and hubbub of a hard gallop, Delmare saw a huge, grim-faced warrior's ready gauntleted hands, a china teacup, and a saucer. The warrior held the one daintily above the other as he charged by, raising clouds of dust. Delmare turned to stare after him, astonished. The second rider thundered past, and a third. They too held teacups. "Excuse me!" he shouted desperately as another group of knights came into his view. "Excuse me!" He bellowed again as loudly as he could, amid the tumult of snorting mounts and crashing hooves. "Pray pardon, but could you possibly spare me?" Then they were past and gone, leaving him amid the rolling dust and the drumming of hooves dying away amid the trees. Delmare sighed, standing in the road and looking after them, and then hastily turned and leapt out of the way as a fresh thundering announced the arrival of yet another rider. Delmare had time for one glimpse of a beautiful, frowning, sharp-eyed maid in full armor galloping toward him as the realms themselves hung in the balance, long hair flowing free about her shoulders. He opened his mouth to speak, and she bent in a flashing of curved armor. Then she was gone, and Delmare found himself holding an empty teacup, delicately placed on its saucer.
"Where have they gone? Off to save the realms again, of course. Know ye nothing about the Knights of Myth Dranor? Recall from time to time that ye are one of them, lad."
The old man fixed Morgan with a clear blue-grey stare, wagged his head in mock despair, and vanished up the chimney in a puff of smoke. Morgan groaned. The disaster was complete. Tomorrow was definitely not going to be a good day. The sun sank low as Delmare trudged along. A thought came to him. What am I still holding this teacup for? In sudden irritation, he dashed it to the ground. The teacup started earthward, and then bobbed in mid-air like a cork upon water, and came up by itself to float silently beside and just ahead of him, in mid-air. Delmare stared at it, dumbfounded. Then he looked wildly at all the trees around. Nothing unusual. Behind him down the road, and by the gods, there hung a line of teacups in empty air, floating slowly towards him. Delmare turned and ran, cursing. He was gasping for air and stumbling in weariness by the time he noticed a sort of glow from beside him, a pale white light. He spat a glance and nearly fell. The teacup he'd thrown was keeping pace with him, floating serenely along as he ran. Panting, Delmare came to a despairing stop and looked back. Sure enough, the line of teacups was there, all of them glowing faintly as the twilight stole up in the trees around him. Shaking his head, Delmare walked into the gathering darkness, towards Shadowdale. The cups would give him light to see by, whatever source their magic came from. Not for the first time. He wondered why he ever ignored the wilder stories about the dale close by the haunted ruins of Myth Dranor. Late at night in taverns, people had whispered about the skeletal dragons and scale spiked things that were rumored to lurk in Myth Dranor. It was a city of riches no one dared to take because of the price of one's life. Still, the men of Shadowdale were good warriors. He heard and kept the dale safe. They always needed soldiers, he heard more than once. As night came upon him, and he walked onto the glowing lights trailing behind him, Dalmare suddenly thought for the first time about why a dale would constantly need new soldiers, and fear joined him along the walk toward the night.